So good morning, one and all. In last class, we have seen about primary decomposition in Noetherian rings. Okay. So today we'll go to Artin rings and we'll see some of the interesting results about Artin rings. Okay. So if we quickly recall what is meant by an Artin ring, a ring is said to be Artin if it is Artinian as a module. That means it should satisfy DCC condition, decreasing chain condition, or the minimal condition on ideals, because submodules for a ring are nothing but ideals. Okay. If we want to know some examples for an Artin ring, if you take any Zn finite commutative ring, then it is, we know already, it is Artin as well as Noetherian. Okay. If you want to know some examples of non-Artin rings, Z is an example because Z is Noetherian but not Artinian. Okay, because it doesn't satisfy DCC condition. You can have infinite sequence of decreasing sequence of ideals. Okay, and so we'll see some interesting results about Artin rings. First one is that in Artin ring, every prime ideal is maximal. Okay, in general, this statement is not true for arbitrary rings. For example, Z. In Z, 0 is prime ideal but not maximal ideal. Okay, so you can also use this statement to say that some ring is not Artin ring. So in that ring, if you know that some ideal is prime but not maximal, then we can conclude that it is not an Artin ring. So this is a necessary condition for Artin rings. So if you have an Artin ring, then every prime ideal is maximal ideal. So if you have a ring where there is some prime ideal but not maximal ideal, then you can say that it is not a Artin ring. Just one example is Z. In Z, 0 is prime but not maximal. Okay, fine. Let's see the proof. We have to prove that every prime ideal is a maximal ideal. So take P, a prime ideal of A. We want to show that this ideal is maximal ideal. Because P is a prime ideal, when you go modulo this, A modulo P is an integral domain. Okay. Now as A is given to be Artin, you can see that A modulo P is also Artin ring. Now to show that this P is maximal ideal, we'll prove that this A modulo P, you can call it that as B, is a field. Okay. So to show it is a field, start with a non-zero element. We'll show that it has inverse. Okay. So for non-zero X in B, consider this decreasing sequence of ideals, namely X, X square, X cube, and so on. Okay. Now we have a decreasing sequence of ideals and we are in Artin ring. So therefore it should stop. This sequence should be stationary. So as B is Artin, there exists n such that xn plus 1, all these ideals are same. That means it's same as saying that x power n is here. So it should be here also. So x power n is equal to some y times x power n plus 1 for some y belongs to B. Then if you simplify this, x power n into 1 minus yx is 0. But as x is non-zero and we are in integral domain, so x power n is also non-zero. Okay, so that shows that this product is non-zero and the other element is non-zero. Sorry, product is 0 but x power n is non-zero. That means 1 minus yx should be 0. So that is same as saying that xy is equal to 1. That means x has a multiplicative inverse, namely y. So that proves that every non-zero element has inverse, means it is a field. So we prove that this A modulo P is a field, means P is maximal. Is that clear? So in an Artin ring, every prime ideal is maximal. Another interesting result about Artin rings is that in any Artin ring, we can have only at most finitely many maximal ideals. Okay. So the result is an Artin ring has only finite number of maximal ideals. So again, if you know some ring where you have infinite number of maximal ideals, then that cannot be an Artin ring. Okay. Fine. Let's see the proof. So we start with set sigma of all finite intersection of maximal ideals of A. That means this is same as intersection of mi's, I is from 1 to n for all possible n. So what is this set? In that ring, consider all maximal ideals and take all possible intersections. That means this sigma contains all maximal ideals and intersection of 2 maximal ideals, intersection of 3 maximal ideals, like that. Okay. Then this set is non-empty. Why this set is non-empty? Because these maximal ideals are here. And what is the guarantee that maximal ideal is here? We have proved earlier that every ring has at least one maximal ideal. Okay, non-zero ring has at least one maximal ideal, which we have proved using John's lemma. So therefore, this sigma is non-empty. So this collection is a non-empty collection of ideals. By using the fact that it is our ring is Artin, we have the minimal element for this collection. Suppose you call it that minimal element as intersection of mi, I is from 1 to r. Okay. So we will show that these m1, m2, mr, these are the only maximal ideals possible in this ring. That proves that there will be only finitely many maximal ideals. So how we will show that? If you take any maximal ideal, it should be one of these mi's. So start with m is any maximal ideal of A. Because m is any maximal ideal of A, then m is a member of this one because it is intersection of that one ideal. Because m is a member of this sigma and this intersection is a minimal element. So what we get is that this intersection of mi's is contained in m. Okay. Fine. Now, if we have to recall again some results here. This m is maximal. So in particular, m is prime ideal. So m is prime and m contains intersection of some ideals. So when we discussed about during prime avoidance lemma, whenever you have a prime ideal which contains intersection of some ideals, then it should contain one of that ideal. So that means here m is a maximal ideal. So in particular, it is a prime ideal which contains some intersection of ideals. Therefore, this m contains one of that ideal. So mi is containing m for some I. Now, using the fact that this m and mi both are maximal ideals, so one cannot be contained strictly in the other. That means mi should be equal to m. So what we have proved is here is that we have started m is any maximal ideal. Then we proved that this m has to be equal to one of those mi's. That shows that there are only finitely many maximal ideals exist in Artin ring. Clear? Fine. So far we have seen two interesting results about Artin rings. That in an Artin ring, every prime ideal is maximal and there are only finitely many maximal ideals. Now, we will show that in an Artin ring, the nil radical R is nilpotent. Okay. So what is nil radical? Nil radical is nothing but intersection of prime ideals. Okay, so we are going to prove that that ideal is nilpotent. That means when we say that some ideal is nilpotent, some power of that ideal is 0, then we say that it is nilpotent. Good. So consider this nil radical R and this sequence R, R square, R cube, and so on. So obviously it is a decreasing sequence of ideals, and again, as we are in Artin ring, what we will get is that this sequence is stationary. So therefore there exists K such that Rk, R power K plus 1 and so on, they are all equal, and you call it that as some ideal E. So we are denoting Rk, Rk plus 1, all these things as A. Now we will show that this Rk is, or A is 0. If we show that A is 0, then R power K is 0 means R is nilpotent, right? So if A is non-zero, if at all this A is non-zero ideal, then consider this set of ideals B such that A times B is non-zero. Okay. So if you have an ideal such that when you multiply with this given A, if it is non-zero, then we are considering that collection in sigma. So what is this sigma mathematically look like? An ideal B will be here if A times B is non-zero. Okay. Now you can see that this set is non-empty. Why this set is non-empty? You can see that A times A is non-zero. Why? If A times A is 0, that means A square is 0. So A square is 0 means R power 2k is 0. Okay. But we have assumed that this A is non-zero. Or if R power 2k is 0, then we have nothing to do. We are already done. Right. So A times A square is non-zero. So therefore, A will belongs to this set. Right. So we have proved that this set is non-empty. So we have a non-empty set of ideals. Therefore, it has a minimal element, call it C. So C is a minimal element of this set. In particular, C is a member here, and A times C is non-zero. And if you have any element here, then it contains C because C is minimal. Okay. So as I said here, A times C is non-zero. So this is a non-zero ideal. That means there exists X in C such that A times X or X times A is also non-zero. Because if for every X in C, A times X is 0, that means A times C is also 0. Right? So A times C is non-zero implies there exists at least one X in C such that A times X is non-zero. So if A times X is non-zero, A times the ideal, principal ideal generated by X is also non-zero, right? Fine. So we got an ideal now multiplied with A is non-zero. So therefore this X belongs to this sigma. This X belongs to sigma, and C is the minimal element. So what is the relation? That C is minimal. So C is contained in X. But X is contained in C. Why X is contained in C? Because X is a member of C. So obviously the principal ideal generated by that is again contained in C. Right? So that proves that C is nothing but X. So C is a minimal element and it has to be principal ideal. That is what so far we have concluded, that C is equal to the ideal generated by some X from that. Now you again see this X times A into A, which is same as X times A square. But this is your A. So A square, A cube, all are equal, right? So X times A square is same as X times A. And we proved that X times A is non-zero. X times A is non-zero. So here, what is the reason here? A square is same as A. So these two are equal, right? So we got that X times A is also non-zero. X times A into this ideal is non-zero. That means that X times A is a member of that one, right? So therefore, by minimality, what we will get? XA is equal to X, right? Because X is this X is the minimal element. So if X is the minimal element and XA is a member of that, then you can see that this XA is same as X, because X is already contained in this XE, right? Therefore, XA is equal to X means X is a member here. So X is also a member here. So you can write X as same as X times Y for some Y belongs to A. Okay. So there is an element here such that you can write as X is equal to X times Y. Now you get this sequence, X is equal to XY. Then you substitute X here. What you get is X equal to X. In place of X, you substitute XY. So what you will get is XY square and XY cube and so on. So you are getting X is equal to XY, XY square, XY power n and so on. Now Y is in A. So Y is in A, and remember A is nothing but your R power K, right? R power K. So therefore, as Y is in A, which is in R power K, we know that R power K is contained in R, and R is nilpotent. Okay, nil radical. That means it is collection of nilpotent elements. So therefore, Y is actually a nilpotent element. So if Y is nilpotent means Y power some n should be 0. So there exists some n such that Y power n is 0. That means X times Y power n is also 0. So X, which is X power Yn, that means equal to 0. So we are getting that X is equal to 0, which is a contradiction to our assumption that X is non-zero, right? So this contradiction arises because we have assumed that our A is non-zero. So it has to be 0. So therefore A is 0 means R power K is 0. So therefore R is nilpotent. So what we have concluded is that in an Artin ring, nil radical is nilpotent. Okay. Fine. Now we move to the next section, namely dimension of a ring. So we will define what is meant by dimension of a ring, and we will see how dimension of a Artin ring goes. Okay. So start with a ring A, then a chain of prime ideals of that ring A is nothing but a finite, strictly increasing sequence P0, P1 up to Pn. So whenever you have a, consider finitely many prime ideals, and if we can have a sequence, increasing sequence like that, then we say it is a chain of prime ideals. Okay. And length of this chain is nothing but n. We define the length of this chain is n if there are n plus 1 prime ideals. So starting from P0, P1 up to Pn. So if we say that length of the chain of prime ideals is n, that means there are n plus 1 prime ideals. One is contained in the other, right? Then the dimension of a ring we define as the supremum of the lengths of all possible chains of prime ideals. So that means dimension of A is nothing but, in that ring, suppose assume that there are some 10 different chains are possible. So take those 10 chains and find the length. Among that you find the maximum. So supremum we use here. It may happen that there may be many, infinitely many such prime ideal sequences. Okay. So I repeat again what is meant by dimension of a ring. Dimension of a ring is defined in terms of based on prime ideals. So take a ring and consider the chain of prime ideals. What is meant by chain of prime ideals? It is a finite, strictly increasing sequence P0, P1 up to Pn, and the length of this chain is nothing but n whenever there are n plus 1 prime ideals. Okay. Then the dimension of a ring is defined as supremum of all lengths, supremum of length of all such possible chains of prime ideals. So how many different chains of prime ideals are possible? Consider those lengths. Then among those lengths you find supremum. That is called as dimension. Okay. So let's see some examples. as it is a new concept. The simplest example is take a field. If we take a field, then why it is of dimension 0? Because in a field, there is only how many ideals it has? It has only, other than 0, it has no other maximal ideal or prime ideal. Okay. So 0 is the only prime ideal. So because 0 is the only prime ideal, there is only one chain exists containing one prime ideal. So if there is only one prime ideal, then what is the length of that? Is 0. So 0 is the length of that chain. Therefore, what is the dimension? Is 0. So I repeat again, why dimension of a field is 0? So you have only one prime ideal, namely 0. So when you have only one prime ideal, only one chain is possible containing one prime ideal. So therefore length has to be 0. Now consider the second example, Z. So this Z has dimension 1. Why this Z has dimension 1? Because you have infinitely many prime ideals, namely 0 and the principal ideal generated by prime number. Okay. So what possible chains you will get is, we know that every prime ideal, non-zero prime ideal contains this 0. Okay. So this is the only possible chains you will get for every different prime ideal. Right. So what is the length of this one? The length of this one is, because there are two prime ideals, so length is 1. Right. So you will have supremum of 0 and 1, which is 1. Why 0? You can have the smallest chain, which is 0, as well as prime ideal P. So you will have 3 different types of chains here. What are they? One is, you take this 0, or you can consider P. This is one, this is a, and the another one is this. Right? So length of this one is 0, length of this one is also 0, and length of such chains is 1. So maximum is 1. Therefore, Z is of dimension 1. Now, using this dimension concept, we have some relation between Artin rings and Noetherian rings. So what this interesting result is that A is a Artin ring if and only if A is Noetherian and dimension of that ring is 0. So if you observe, before going to proof, if you observe this one second. Okay. So this, if you understand this statement, a ring is Artinian if and only if it is Noetherian and a dimension of A is 0. So Artin implies Noetherian. We can see here, if it is Artinian ring, then it is always Noetherian. Is that clear? And not only that, we are giving extra information that it has to be of dimension 0. Whereas converse is not always true. That means if a ring is Noetherian, then it is not necessary that it is Artin. We have seen already Z is such example, right? But if we have Noetherian ring with dimension 0, then we can always guarantee that it is Artin.